Hi everyone, we are the tech experts. My name is Grace Martin.
Hey everyone, my name is Shantae Guidry.
And this week then we are going to be going over week 4, where we're going to be going over our time log, guided questions, and our t-test tables. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off. This week then I spent time working through Adobe Firefly and Magic School AI. I was able to look at the teacher use of Magic School AI and the student use. And then I worked on the guided questions and making sure that I got everything prepared. And so with Adobe Firefly, then I was just going to show some of the things that I came up with and made on it. At first, then I was just doing like things that would kind of, you can do like the art or the photo one. So these are the prompts that I put in. So the first one was 10 cartoon fluffy goats sitting on a mountain, and it gave me both of these to choose from. And then I went through and I was able to do more like educational ones. So I did a solar system model, and I also did the water cycle. Whenever I did the water cycle one, then I first started off with asking it to do a visual diagram of the water cycle. And I ended up editing the prompt to add make it simple for elementary school. It took me a while to actually get to this point. So it's a little bit difficult to make good educational photos from it. But for general use, like making like a Zoom background or something like that, then I found it um, more applicable versus using it for like a science class or anything like that. And you can choose between doing art or photo, like realistic, and you can change the different amounts of each one. And then I went on to Magic School AI, and through the teacher part, then I didn't know what tools I wanted to use. So I just used their tool recommendation where I put in a prompt where I described the class that I wanted to teach, and I included that I wanted a technology integrated learning activity to cover expansion, Civil War, and early America. One of the things that it gave me was common misconceptions. So it gave me different misconceptions about that time period and then how it should be addressed to the students. And then on the student side, then I was able to come up with a prompt to give it to where it generated just an overview of that topic. And I also used their YouTube video summarizer, and I asked it to give me 3 guided questions and answer them in short paragraphs. I took one of those crash course videos off of YouTube, and then it gave me these questions and answered them for me. And then finally, then my guided questions, then I just went through and I wrote about all of them, and then I put a lot of focus into the t-test table. So I'm going to be focusing on domain 3, which is learning environment, and I'm going to be using the tool Nearpod. My project idea is digital citizenship and collaborative learning. So I'm going to be using Nearpod to make an interactive module promoting digital citizenship and respectful behavior in digital spaces. The ISD coach standards, then I'm doing standard 3 collaborator, and then educator, I'm doing leader, which is standard 2, and then for student, I'm doing standard 1 empowered learner. So that is what I worked on this week.
Okay, so now I'm going to go over what I worked on this week. This week, I felt like I was overwhelmed with information as far as AI goes because I'm really not a AI person. It is funny because I was watching a YouTube video and there was this lady that looked exactly like me on there, and I had to send it to my siblings, and I'm like, y'all, is this AI? Because I've been watching videos on the same thing with for the past week, and it was crazy because she looked just like me, she sounded just like me, and I'm thinking, is the camera recording me or something with AI? But nonetheless, it is very overwhelming having to do with AI. But I'm going to go a little backwards here. I'm going to go over my t-test outline first, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share. I'm first going to go over my t-test outline, and this is so that way you all can kind of see where I'm heading with all of my AI resources that I looked at this week. I'm specifically going to go over domain 2, which is instruction, and it primarily has to do with analyzing data and desegregating the data. So I'm going to utilize data from either formal or informal, that should be assessments, through the use of Google form, quizzes, and different responses to analyze the progression. And as I look through that data, the lessons and activities will be adjusted based on the data. So for the IDET coaching standards, I'm going to be using standard 6, which is data-driven decision maker. And for the educator portion, it's domain 2.7, which is being an analyst. And then in standard 1.1 for the student standards, it's going to be being an empowered learner. And each of the standards have to deal specifically with looking at the data, desegregating the data, learning how to collect the data. And then also on a educator perspective, you always want to look at your data so that way you can adjust your learning to basically go based off of the learning of the students. You don't, if there's no student left behind, you want to make sure that you're either spiraling. Of course, that's by looking at that data, and then students can set their goals by leveraging the technology that they use to reflect their learning process. And so from there on my questions, my guided questions, basically looking at the coaching perspective of it. And of course, that's the integration of technology. The educator portion of it is using those different strategies. So that way the students will be willing to learn. And I think utilizing technology for that even goes with looking at their own data, having them keep a learning log. And then also on the students portion, creating those student-driven lessons instead of teacher-driven. So that way it'll make the students responsible for their own learning. And then they will also be able to see how they're learning at the same time. So in doing that, I looked at a few different assessment creators through AI. This first one is called Formative, and it's basically instruction assessments. Instruction plus assessment equals a formative. And there's just different ways that I can go in and create assessments as a teacher portion. And then here is, I can transform, those PDFs into Google Docs. And then I can also present the slides. And then I can enhance the reading passages. I can add different YouTube samples to it and so forth. And then I also looked at generating assessments and quizzes through Quizzes AI. And I thought this was really cool because it gives you all the steps to do that. And I actually have a sample here. And so here I can generate with AI. And what I can do is I can upload documents, I can upload websites, I can upload text from my device already. I can import worksheets, I can generate through AI. And if I wanted to upload from here, I can do so, and it'll generate the assignment in AI. I also looked at Gradescope. Gradescope is another way to deliver assessments and then also grade your assessments in order to look at that data. And then also on Magic AI, this is also an assessment creator. I can create different multiple choice quizzes based on a certain topic, a certain standard. And then once I generate it, it'll also generate it in AI format. And then of course, this is my standard Google quiz based off of what we learned in our Google certification lessons. I can put this here and then I can look at my responses in order to look at the data as well. And it'll generate it for me. Nothing's going to be on here right now because I haven't really created it. But I can also view my responses in different ways. And this is a good way to kind of gauge how familiar students are with different types of formative assessments. I can go in and I can speak the formative assessment that I want it to be generated with AI. So that is what I went over this week. And we'll see you guys later.